Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, four of the richest companies in history, have all made the same promise. In a few years, we will stop adding carbon to the sky. Net zero, most of them by 2030. But then AI arrived and they started building like never before. Last reported year, Microsoft's emission alone jumped by 25%, Google up by 18%, Amazon up by 16%, Meta up by 11%. Since the day they made these promises, every single one has moved away from them. They now sit roughly 40 to 80% above where they started. And here is the thing, the deadlines of these climate ambitions have not moved. Emissions going up, promises pointing down. Both of those cannot stay true. One of them has to break. Unless there is a way out, and on paper there is exactly one. Pulling carbon out of the sky at a scale nobody has ever built. So that is this week's question. Can big tech still keep its climate promise, and can carbon removal industry grow fast enough to save it? Let's start why these lines are climbing. It is not mystery, it's a machinery. Every time you ask an AI a question, a data center somewhere burns an electricity to answer it. The International Energy Agency counts it all. Data center used about 485 terawatt hours in 2025, and that is heading towards roughly 950 terawatts by 2030. To make that real, that is roughly as much as electricity as all of the Japan uses as a country. The AI slice alone grew by 50% last year, and the money behind it, over $400 billion of construction in a single year. And a data center is not just electricity, it is concrete, it is steel, it is chips, and making those release carbon to electricity plus construction plus transportation. That is what a climate footprint is made of. Now watch it land on each promise. 4 cards starting from Microsoft. When it made its promise in 2020, about 13 million tons of emission a year, today 20, up 25% in last year alone. And almost all of it is building spree, the concrete, the steel, the servers. The promise is not just net zero, carbon negative by 2030, reaffirmed this July, 4 years out. Let's see. Now Google, which keeps its books in its own way by its own preferred count, up 18% last year. And its own report says it plainly, emissions have risen every single year since 2020. The promised net zero by 2030, and the same report described these goals as, quote, intentionally aspirational. Remember this phrase. Amazon gave itself a bit more time and has biggest number from about 51 million tons to nearly 81 since it co-wrote its own pledge. Up 16% last year, the promise net zero by 2040. The company says the goal remains. Which leaves Meta, the one that looks best on paper, the smallest number on board, 8.2 million tons, up 11%. But that is after renewable energy credits or certificates are subtracted. Count the actual grid it plugs into, it is roughly double. The promise net zero by 2030. And the two companies at the very center of this room, where are their cards? OpenAI, as of this July, no emissions, no inventory, no sustainability report, no climate target that we would find. What it does have is Stargate, a $500 billion build out, 7 sites, more than 9 gigawatts planned by 2029, with gas turbines permitted on site at its flagship complex, and the gas sits on the site operator's book, not OpenAI. Anthropic measures its footprints and bias offsets. Its stated goal, in its own words, net zero climate impact on an annual basis, and last month it became the first AI company to join Frontier. The Carbon Removals Buyers Club, a published inventory? Not yet. Here is the accounting truth. Their compute lives inside 4 footprints you just saw: Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, or in new build. Out no inventory captures it. The demand is theirs, the emissions show up in someone else's chart. 4 clients, 1 blank card, and not one deadline was moved, which brings us to the only honest question. How does a company whose emissions are rising hit a net zero date that is not moving? There are exactly 2 doors. Door A, move the promise, push the date, soften the words, retire the claim. And door A is already ajar. Watch this sequence. 2023, Amazon quietly drops its shipment zero goal. Science-Based Target Initiative removes Amazon's net zero commitment from its dashboard. Google stops claiming carbon neutrality after more than 15 years, disclosed the following summer. 2024, SBTi strips Microsoft's commitment to among more than 200 companies. This April, Heatmap News and Bloomberg report Microsoft telling developers that it is pausing new carbon removal deals. The company says it is pacing, not cancelling, and existing contracts stand. This May, Bloomberg reports Microsoft 24/7 clean power pledge is quote on the chopping block. No final decision yet. And Google now calls its own targets moonshots. None of these is a broken promise. Every one of them is a hand on door A. Door B, keep the promise by paying to pull carbon out of the sky, carbon removal. Not the old style offsets where you pay someone else not to pollute, actually removing it. And as of last month, that is not a preference, it is the rule book. The referee for corporate climate promises, Science-Based Target Initiative finalized its new net zero rule book on June 11th. Read what it says. Cut everything you can, and whatever emissions are left at your net zero date, you must cancel out with carbon removal. Not promises, removal. Big companies have to start building those removal portfolios from 2035. So door B has a price tag. The question is whether anyone can build what the rulebook orders. That is where I stop reporting and show our own work. Full disclosure, what follows is Climate Decode's model, the one behind our VCM outlook, and we sell into this market. Judge the assumptions yourself, they are all published. Step 1, inputs, nothing exotic, each company's own reported numbers, 5 years of them, the same tables we have been reading all episode, plus IEA's data center electricity path, their numbers, the grid numbers. Step 2, project the climb, how much power they will use times how dirty the grid still is, plus carbon cost of pouring all that concrete. Grid do get cleaner, but not at a data center schedule. The lines keep rising through the exact years the promises say they must fall. Step 3, the leftover emissions. By each deadline, cutting only gets you so far. Whatever emissions are left, the rulebook says remove it from the sky. Add that up across the market and you have demand for carbon removal year by year. Here is a question almost nobody asks. Can planting a tree cancel out burning gas? Here's the rule that decides it. Carbon from fossil fuels stays in the sky for centuries to thousands of years. A tree holds carbon for decades and then it burns or rots and let it go. You cannot pay a 1,000-year debt with a 30-year IOU. So the rule, and since last month it is written into official net zero rulebook, is match the fix to the damage. Fossil carbon needs durable removal. Carbon locked into rock deep underground for good. Short-lived emissions like methane from farms fades in about a their forest and soil are a fair match. Now look at what an AI footprint is made of. electricity, concrete, steel, chips, almost all of it fossil carbon. Which means big tech's climate promises don't land on everyday's carbon market. They'll land on the rarest shelf in store, permanent removal, and that shelf is nearly empty. Step 5, the collision. Our model says demand for permanent removal reaches about 61 million tons a year by 2036 in the voluntary markets. Everything actually being built adds up to about 11, 6 buyers for every 1 ton. Tree-based removal tightens to demand around 72 against a buildable 44, but permanence is where the promises pile up. And if you think a model can exaggerate, look at the market as it stands today. Of all the permanent removal companies have ever ordered, about 3% have actually been delivered. The most famous technology machine that sucked carbon straight from the air, direct air capture, has delivered about 1200 tons total ever. And of every permanent ton ever purchased, one single buyer, Microsoft, took 78%. This market has one whale. This spring, the whale paused and has only trickled back since. Prices say the same thing. The cheapest permanent option, biochar, cost around $125 to $145 a ton today. Machines pulling carbon from air, hundreds of dollars, and an ordinary tree planting credit, about 20. That gap is the market telling you which shelf is empty. So the verdict: big tech promised net zero, most of them by 2030. Their emissions have gone up 40 to 80% since. So honestly, can they still get there? On today's number, no. Not by buying their way out. The carbon removal industry that is supposed to cancel their leftover emissions can only deliver about 1/6 of what will be needed by 2036. And the new global rule move just made that removal mandatory. So there are 3 ways this ends. The deadlines quietly move, the promises quietly shrink, aspirational becomes an operative word, or carbon removal gets built at a speed no climate industry has ever managed. And watch what is already happening. 30 million tons of removal were ordered last year, nearly 4 times the year before, while actual delivery barely left the ground. Orders exploding, supply crawling. This is what a shortage looks like before it has a price tag. So read every net zero headline from big tech the way we read these 4. Find 2 lines, ask which one is bending. And if your company is anywhere in this market, buying, building, or promising, the removal question is no longer whether, it is which kind, how durable, at what price. That is exactly the math we do all day. The full model, methodology, ranges, assumption is in our VCM Outlook 2026, link below. See you the next week.